The first thing that I noticed, people here stare a lot.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean. Go to thegermanyexperience.de. You can subscribe to the podcast on any of the major platforms. For a full list, go to thegermanyexperience.de/follow, and welcome to the show. My guest this week is Lara from Slovenia. But before we get to her, I just want to say I contributed to the latest episode of the Expatcast. Nicole has put together a wonderful compilation of stories from foreigners in Germany about times where German officials made them cry. And I think it's something that a lot of foreigners in Germany can relate to. And I shared a story about when I was applying for German citizenship. It's a great episode with some great stories, so go take a listen. The link is in the show notes. So, as I said, my guest this week is Lara from Slovenia, and she makes some very funny and also informative short videos about life in Germany. She has a blog called Living Expat Life, and she is the founder of a company. Before moving to Germany, she was living in Chicago in the USA, and we discussed what it was like moving from a big city like that to a smaller town in Germany. We also discussed freelancing in Germany and, of course, her Instagram and TikTok videos. Here is Lara. Give us your story. How is it that you've ended up here in Germany?
Okay, yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for having me on your show.
The pleasure is really all mine. I'm not even kidding.
So, okay, my background. I'm originally from Slovenia, small country in Central Europe. I was born and raised there. And then I moved abroad about 2.5 years ago. I first lived in Chicago for 1 year. Then we relocated last year during pandemic to Germany, to a small German city called Heidenheim.
Okay.
I have a background in marketing and PR. I'm currently freelancing. I also own a furniture company, and I write a blog.
So how do you manage all of this stuff? I mean, so like you just said, you've got a blog, you've got the Instagram channel. I'm pretty sure it takes a lot of time, but we'll get to that. We'll discuss about more about your Instagram channel and all that stuff. How do you find time?
It's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. I have to, work sometime late nights, on the weekends. But yeah, if you manage your time right, if you plan all of the stuff ahead, it works out.
Yeah, it works out. And I think I saw on your Instagram channel you had a this or that, I think it was, and
Yeah.
you had an option between early bird and night owl, and you circled night owl, so you preferred the night times.
I'm most productive from 10 p.m. to 12.
Right.
So I do a lot of the stuff then.
Yeah, it's the same as me with the podcast. It's the time after 9 p.m. where I can get my stuff done, and that's also, funny enough, the time that I'm most productive. And I wish more companies would realize this, that there are some people who are actually super productive late at night.
Late at night, yeah, and in the morning I like to sleep a little bit.
Yeah.
So it works.
So you said that you moved abroad to Chicago for a while. So Chicago is a big city, obviously. It's fairly large. And then you moved. Actually, there's a lot of questions I want to ask you there. You moved to Heidenheim in the middle of the pandemic. So what was the reason for the move from Chicago to Germany?
The biggest reason was coming back to family, living closer to our family. So my boyfriend, Simon, he's also Slovenian. He comes from the same town as I was born there and raised. And so both our families are in Slovenia. And we just wanted to move closer to them. And then the whole thing started. So we decided that we are going to look into countries that are close to Slovenia, but also have like a high quality of life. So we had like multiple options. We had Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Netherlands. And then Simon got the job offer first here in a small city called Aalen near Heidenheim. And we were like, okay, yeah, we're probably moving to Germany. And then I narrowed my search, job search, and got a job here in Heidenheim. yeah, and that's how we ended up here.
So that must have been quite an interesting move, going from such a big city to a smallish town, from what I understand. But before we get to that, you said you wanted to be closer to family. How has that been? Has that worked out? Have you been able to travel and see family during the pandemic?
Yeah, it was definitely challenging, but we been visiting our family like at least once a month.
Okay.
So we are driving there once a month. It's a 7 hours drive, but we already got used to it. So yeah, it's fine. So yeah, I've seen them quite a lot in the past year.
But Slovenia wasn't it an option?
No, I mean Slovenia is beautiful, and I want to move back when I'm older. But in terms of like career opportunities and everything, it's just too small for us at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was that like moving to Germany during a pandemic? Was it a difficult thing to do, or did it just kind of happen smoothly once you had the jobs?
So we moved from Chicago in February 2020 to Slovenia first, and we stayed at our parents for 3 months, and then relocated to Heidenheim at the beginning of May in 2020.
Okay.
So once we got the job offer, yeah, we were, super happy. We didn't have any, doubts about it. We were like, yeah, we're going, it's a logical next step. But still, it was challenging because, the restrictions were changing from like week to week, and every day was something else. And, we had to check with the German embassy how the things are here, like how is the situation. But yeah, then we, packed our car with everything, with food, because we had to quarantine here for 14 days. We rented a temporary apartment
Okay.
and moved. And, we've never been here in Heidenheim before, so we didn't know. We just drove here, went straight to the apartment, spent the 14 days there, and then, yeah.
Okay. What were your impressions of Heidenheim at first? Like when you got there, did you have a moment where you thought, "Oh my God, what have we done?"
No, actually, like the first time that we like drove through the city was like, I thought it's going to be smaller, actually. So I was like, okay, not bad. It looks, it's nice. It looks clean. So yeah, it was a good first impression.
Yeah. I remember when I first came to Germany as well, when people mentioned villages and so on, they would say, I live in a village outside of town. And in South Africa, a village is literally just some huts and probably no running water and anything. Like when I saw the German villages, I'm like, no, these are not villages somehow.
But you live in a small city now, right? I mean,
Yeah, very, very small. I do live in a village now, what the Germans would call a village. It has 2,000 people. What is the population of Heidenheim, more or less? Do you know?
it's 50,000.
Okay, so it's a small town, you could say.
It's a small town. Yeah.
So you mentioned that when you drove through it, you thought it was not too bad. Did you have any reservations after living in Chicago, such a big city? Did you have any things in your mind that said, this is a terrible idea, or it could be that we don't get along there?
I never thought it's going to be a terrible idea. I knew it's going to be different, very different, because German culture I think it's very different from American.
Yeah.
So I was, a bit nervous, a bit afraid of like if we're going to fit in, if this was the right choice. But yeah, I think we adjusted like pretty well by now.
Yeah.
We've been living here for more than 1 year, so yeah.
And just one question before we continue about that small town life, about leaving Chicago in the United States of America. Was that difficult? Because I mean, you made the sacrifice for what it seems to be closer to family, and that in a way it is a sacrifice. Or were you about ready to leave the United States when you left?
It was more of a sacrifice. Honestly, I miss living in Chicago a lot. We have a lot of friends there. We kind of started building our lives there together, and yeah, I miss it. And sometimes I wish I was still there.
Right.
But when I think about, living so close to my family now, it's great. And also I think I see it that way. It's better to raise a family here in Europe than in the US.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what a lot of it comes down to as well. And everything's a compromise, I guess. You're always as a foreigner making a choice between something and something, and you just kind of hope that hope that it works out and that it's the right choice.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think we made the right choice.
Okay. But now moving to a small German town, as you said, German culture is quite different to American culture and so on. So how was it? What things did you notice about living in a small town that maybe surprised you at first?
So for example, the first thing that I noticed, people here stare a lot. I'm sorry, but it happens to me all the time. I'm getting the looks all the time. Like, I'm not even kidding. One time I was walking on the street and one guy stopped and stared at me for like 30 seconds straight.
But why?
I don't know. I don't know. I probably see it interesting to them. I don't know. But I don't know like what to do. Like I often just smile back and I try to be polite, but yeah, people do stare a lot.
Yeah.
But you get used to it, so.
Yes.
And then the second like thing that, I was a bit frustrated about at the beginning was that Germans can be like really reserved when they meet new people, when they have to socialize with new people. At least based on my experiences, you really have to give them some time.
Yeah.
So they can, gain your trust, earn your trust, and open up to you and really become friends with you. It takes time with them. It's fine. I accepted the fact that it's how it is, and I'm not going to change anything. But it's very different from what I was used to. People in Slovenia are usually like very friendly, very open with everyone. Also in the US, you walk down the street and people just say hi to you, like random
They
people.
smile.
Yeah. Ask how are you. It's a lot of the times, it's not genuine, but still you feel good.
Yeah.
And
I think to a degree it is genuine. Like in that moment, they maybe don't want to be your forever friend or something, but they're making, what I like about Americans is they make contact with a stranger. Like it's just an acknowledgement that you're there, and they think it's cool that you're there. And I like that. I think there's a lot to be said, and the Germans just don't do that. It's just not a thing in their culture.
No, it's not. It's not. They don't like the small talks.
No, they don't. But I think this might also be not just a small town thing, it's a German thing, although it is more pronounced in the smaller towns, because I found a similar thing with that sort of coldness of the Germans. Coming to Germany, we noticed it at first, but it was not as bad in the bigger cities that we were living in. When we moved out to the rural areas, you realize, wow, they are very reserved. It's very difficult to crack things. And I think it's just more pronounced the more rural and the smaller the towns that you have.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And another thing, it's not a big deal, but sometimes it can be a bit annoying. It's a lot of places here, like shops, bars, restaurants, don't accept credit cards.
Yes.
And then you have to just have your cash with you.
Yeah.
At all times. So that.
Yeah, and we were kind of hoping that would get better with coronavirus because they were preferring that you pay with cards and everything. But a friend of mine, and I actually just retweeted on my Twitter today, a friend of mine sent me something about a restaurant that was saying, right, it's time to get back to cash payments. So I guess the coronavirus whole card culture is disappearing as soon as it came.
Exactly. So yeah, that can be a bit annoying.
Yeah.
And then another thing, as you know, Sundays here in Germany are for resting. And now like it's amazing when you get used to it. But for example, when I was living in Chicago, I sometimes went shopping on Sunday.
Sure.
Or you have to get like bread or something at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And you can go because
can
everything is open. I know. Yeah. But here, we just have to plan everything ahead, get everything like on Friday or Saturday, and then you rest on Sundays, which, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And when I was visiting a city recently, I think it was Hamburg, if I'm not mistaken, but this was not recently, this was 2019. I was amazed that in the city, like in Hamburg, there are actually places that are open on a Sunday. So especially if you go to the train station, sometimes they've got like a bigger supermarket and stuff. So again, in the cities, you do have some options, even though most of the things are still closed on a Sunday. There are some things or some exceptions in a city. Rural living, small towns, you don't have a chance. There's just like, why are they going to open on a Sunday? There's nothing to open for. So
not even like a bakery, like nothing.
No. Although we do have a bakery that opens up on a Sunday, which like, and the villagers here just to kind of flock to it because it's it's like a beacon of hope on a bleak and dreary Sunday. They're open from like 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock or something like that, and everyone just that's where you go and get your bread rolls on the Sunday. I'm like, well, if other bakeries opened, we could share all of our money. We could give different bakeries our money. But anyway, I guess it's also okay. It's fine.
It's fine. I mean, you always have like gas station if you need like some snacks or
Yes.
something.
Yes, some snacks are twice the price that you would normally pay. So how would you say that small town life has shaped your experience in Germany? I guess it's a different experience than it would have been if you'd ended up in a big city, right?
Definitely. And also like the whole COVID-19 pandemic impacted a lot like our life here. I think like we didn't have the chance to properly experience the life here just because of the COVID. I think yeah, so we really like didn't have the chance to meet a lot of people except for like coworkers. We have some friends in Germany like from before, and that helped a lot. You know, we connected a little bit during the pandemic. So yeah, it was different during this past year. We spent a lot of the time inside.
Yeah.
And then started focusing on our personal projects, you know.
Yeah.
I started blogging. I started making this, you know, videos, TikToks. We launched a company last year. So despite everything, a lot of the good things came out of this situation.
Yeah.
But still, I think it could have been, you know, way better if it wasn't for a pandemic.
Yeah, it's something that's come up on this podcast as well as is about it's important to develop that connection to the place that you're living in. And you just don't have the chance to do that during the pandemic because you're in your own four walls. And like you said, lots of time for your own personal projects, but really to develop that connection to where you are. You may as well be anywhere basically because you're not connecting to the culture, you're not connecting to the people and so on. But it must feel really good now that it's changing. I don't know how it is where you are, but things are opening up and weather is nice, and it just changes the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. We've been, you know, traveling a lot lately around Germany, doing this like day trips. So yeah, it's getting super nice.
Yeah.
But overall, I think now that I'm living in a small town, I'm kind of more relaxed. I'm living more like chill life because I think when you're living in a big city, I think you're like in a rush all the time. But here, I think we are just more like peaceful. I don't know.
I think it's exactly the same. I'm always surprised when now because I've been living out in the country for about 4 years. I think this year will be 4 years. And I'm close-ish to Nuremberg, so I get a chance to go to Nuremberg every now and then. Whenever I'm in the city, I'm just it's loud. There's people everywhere, and I'm like, wow, it's a different feeling. It's definitely a different vibe. I love it though. I am still a city kid at heart. Like there's part of me that just still loves the city. I don't think I could live in the city again, but I still love the city and I love being there. And I think what also I miss out here in the countryside is a bit of diversity. So when you go into the cities, you see people from all walks of life and all kinds of things. Whereas here it's just Germans mostly. I mean, there's a like slight diversity, but it's very, very, it's just Germans out here. Is it similar there where you are?
It's very similar. We live in a neighborhood where only like old people live, like 70, 80-year-old people, and then there's us. So yeah, you definitely have more of diversity in bigger cities. And I miss that, honestly. I miss that.
Yeah. So talking about living in a suburb with maybe older people, what's your long-term plans for Germany? Are you, or specifically for Heidenheim, first of all, and then for Germany as a whole?
We definitely want to stay in Germany for a couple of more years. I don't see myself living here until I'm like 60, 70. Because I want to experience like other countries as well. I really want to live in Amsterdam for some time and then also in Spain and Barcelona.
Right.
But for now, we want to stay here in Germany. But we want to definitely relocate to a bigger city. So we've been kind of looking into Munich, Stuttgart, just because, yeah, we really miss living in a big city. We miss living in a, you know, place where you're surrounded by like different cultures and you have the opportunity to meet like all these new people. Yeah, so definitely we want to stay here for some time, but we want to relocate
Right.
someplace bigger.
Speaking of Stuttgart, I saw on your Instagram. I think you may have posted this yesterday. It was an incredible photograph, and people need to go and if they're not following you on Instagram, I'll link to it in the show notes. But you were in the Stadtbibliothek, I think it was, right, of
Yeah,
Stuttgart. That was amazing. Just describe it for people, like what it looked like, because just the photograph that you posted was amazing.
yeah, so it's a public library. You can enter like for free. It's basically like this like cubicle, but the building is like cubicle. It's like all in white, and inside everything is like in white, like super like modern interior, like thousands of books. Oh my God, it's wow.
Yeah, it was like stories. The picture that you posted was like it was hollow in the middle, and then there was just beautiful staircases, and like you said, quite modern and white, leading up to each platform, and just books and books and books. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that is on my bucket list. I didn't even know that existed until right now, but that is on my bucket list. It looks amazing.
You definitely have to visit it. Yeah, it has like I think 7 floors, 7 or 8
Yeah,
floors, all books. It's wow.
amazing. So you moved to Germany, as we said. As I think you said you had a job, but you also say that you're working as a freelancer. What is your current status at the moment?
Yeah, so I worked in an international company for 6 months where I didn't feel really like motivated, inspired. It was kind of a hard working environment. So I decided that I want to freelance and became self-employed. And honestly, it's been amazing. It's the freedom for me. I'm finally, working on projects that I really like, that are like super creative. Freelancing has its pros and cons, as it does like also like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get a bit lonely just because you are all by yourself. You don't have any coworkers. You're inside like the whole day, every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
But still, like I think I wouldn't go back to 9 to 5, honestly.
Yeah. Once you've done that, then it's difficult to go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So for freelancing here in Germany, if you are a European resident, you don't need any special type of freelancer visa. So you only have to register your business, and then get after that a tax number, because even if you're freelance, you have to pay taxes.
Mm.
And then once you get your tax number, you can open a bank account, get your health insurance, and then start looking for clients.
Okay.
But so if someone wants to freelance here, I have to mention that, super important, you are not allowed to freelance for one company like full time.
Ah, okay. So you have to diversify your client
You,
portfolio.
yeah, yeah, you have to diversify, because if you're freelancing like full time for one company, they have to cover half of your expenses, so your health insurance and pension and everything. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was just horrified that I actually said the sentence diversify your client portfolio. I've never said a more corporate line on this podcast, and I don't know where that came from. I am sorry, everyone. So that's interesting that you have to have various clients. And how did you go about finding new clients? Did you have from previous experience people that you could call on, or did you just find all your clients new and here in Germany?
So I had some clients from before. It definitely helps if you have like already some kind of a network
Mm.
build. But otherwise, I use platforms like Fiverr and Upwork, and I find most of the projects there.
And that's pretty cool, because that means that you're not just limited to German work. So and that's one of the advantages, I guess, of being a freelancer, is that you can actually do work internationally.
Yes, you can do projects with companies from US,
Mm. Yeah.
Asia, whatever.
So that's a great option if anyone is thinking about it. And I do think that the German corporates, the big companies, the big corporates, can be quite difficult for foreigners, even though they do often have a lot of English there. But they are also very conservative companies. Usually, I mean, this is a generalization, and they have a lot of hierarchy and rigid rules. And yeah, it's not a fit for people who have the expats spirit or of adventure, for example.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
why I quit my job there. Also, like it was quite hard for me to find a job here. It took me like 4 or 5 months
Yeah.
just because I didn't know German that well. I was like at A1 level.
Yeah.
And of course, most of the companies are looking for someone who is fluent in German.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to look more into international companies. I think that always helps. Yeah.
Definitely does. It definitely does, and that's often advice that I give is look for those big international companies. It's all, at least it's a foot in the door, and then you could do like you do once you're established, once you know that your accommodation is sorted out, and once you see what the company's like, you can always decide to go, to the next project or to do something you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now part of your day is you've got this freelancing stuff and several other things, but one of the things that you do is your Instagram channel. So
Yeah.
maybe tell me how that started and what you do on this Instagram channel.
So everything started last year in July, so 1 year ago.
Yeah.
I decided to start writing a blog about my expat, experiences, about like moving abroad tips, looking for jobs abroad. And from there, I started to promote it more on Instagram. I started like getting like some followers, but then this year I decided to start making like this short, funny videos,
Yeah.
reels.
Yeah.
And one of them went viral. It hit like 1 million views.
Which one was this?
The first one that went viral, it was like living in Germany starter pack. So that was the first one that went viral. Then a couple of others, and I thought, okay, I think I should start making more of those because obviously people like it.
Yeah.
People can relate to them. And yeah, I grew my account from like 1,000 followers to now 13,000 in a matter like
Yeah.
of 2 3 months.
That is incredible.
It's really amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, having said that though, it is really you create really really funny things, and like you said, it's relatable content that people can understand. When I watch any of your videos, is the kind of thing where I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about. But not only that, you have such a great insight and a power of observation that you can take something that we all know from the German experience and really put it into a funny context. And it's really cool what you do there. So my question is, how do you come up with your ideas first of all, and how long does it take to go from that idea to a short Instagram or TikTok video?
So basically, like 90% of my videos are based on real life experiences, on real life events here, either like something that happened to me or to my friends. And yeah, all of the jokes that I make are based on real conversations, and that's what makes them, relatable to a lot of people. So basically, when I feel most inspired or I feel super like creative, I write all of the ideas down. And then I usually take like one day of the week and film as much as possible. So I try to, film like 5 to 8 videos. And yeah, that's basically it.
And how has this social media success that you've had helped your integration and your life as a foreigner here in Germany?
I think it made my life here definitely better just because I have such a supportive community. I feel very welcomed. Like, I am super grateful for all of the messages I get daily, all of the comments, everything. My main goal is to entertain people and also to educate, help people who want to move to Germany, but also the ones that, recently moved and are still a bit lost and need some guidance because, moving abroad is definitely not a piece of cake.
No.
And I feel like super, super happy now that I can help, others with my posts, with my videos. So yeah, I also connected with a lot of like other creators, content creators here in Germany that are making similar content, and we have this sort like over like our own community, and we support each other there. So yeah, overall, it made my life like super, super nice.
But it must take up a lot of time. I know just answering messages, which is something I am terrible with, by the way. I am terrible with correspondence and talking to people who listen to the podcasts. They email me and then sometimes they have to wait 2 to 3 weeks. And I know there are some people in my inbox waiting for their replies. But it takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
It takes a lot of time, and I'm the same. So I apologize to everyone who are left at scene. But yeah, it's hard, getting all of these messages every day, and I really try to respond them as quickly as possible. But sometimes it's just it's impossible.
It's just not possible, and I get a fraction of what you must get. So I know just with what I get, it's a lot, and it's not that you're ignoring people. And I think that's also what we want people to know. We're not ignoring you.
No, we're not.
And I think part of the problem for me, and I don't know how it is for you, but sometimes when I get those messages, I want to sit down and reply properly. So that means I see it and I think, okay, I'm not going to write them a one-line reply now. They took the time to write to me or to connect with me. I want to validate that and give them a decent response kind of thing. So I say, okay, I'll do that later. And then there's always new messages and new things to do, and I just never get around to it. So it actually comes from a good intention, and then I end up completely ignoring them, which is terrible.
One thing I started doing is sending voice messages. It's quicker than typing because sometimes, you have to really answer a lot of questions. I just, record a voice message and I also think it's more personal.
It is. That's very true. All right. Everyone's getting voice messages from me from tomorrow. Okay. I'm getting voicemails all around.
Yeah.
So I'm going to link to your Instagram account in the show notes, and also your blog. What is your blog called?
Living Expat Life. So livingexpatlife.com. I'm a bit embarrassed. The last post was in February. Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Horrible. I'm working on redesigning my website. And then once I do that, I will start posting new stuff, I promise.
All right.
Yeah, just I right now I have a lot of other stuff that I need to do. I'm super busy, and it's for a blog post you really need to take time.
Yes.
And yeah, it's at the moment it's just hard. So I apologize to all of my readers, but
But if there's anyone out there that hasn't discovered her blog, there's a lot of stuff that is there already that you can go and read back posts, because you got all things like even stuff about the United States of America there. You got 6 essential things that you need to know before moving to USA. You've got things about New Orleans. You've got things about Chicago, and then you've also got the top 6 must-see places in southern Germany and so on. So go and look at it anyway. What's already there, and then at some point, who knows? Maybe there'll be new stuff.
Yeah, it's a mixture of travel tips, but then also moving abroad tips. So yeah, you should definitely check it out.
Go anyway. But that's not all, Lara, because you also have a business, as you mentioned at the thing. And just explain to me what your business is about.
So me and my boyfriend, we launched a furniture company last year. It's called Newson. And we basically create essentials for home offices. So right now we have a work desk, so an office table, and then also a desk organizer, like a desktop accessory.
Right.
Basically, all of our products are handmade out of locally sourced wood. And we also try to, be a sustainable brand. Everything we do is in a sustainable way, just because we want better future for our planet.
Yes.
So yeah, that is one thing that I've been working on.
And people can order that here in Germany as well, the furniture. Yeah. So I'll also links in the show notes. So yeah, I like I said, Lara, I don't know how you find time for this all, and I think it's amazing. Yeah. So thank you very much for making the time. Since I know how busy you are, I really appreciate you taking some time to come on the podcast and talk to me.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Sean.
If you like this podcast, tell another foreigner in Germany. Help spread the word. Or you can go to thegermanyexperience.de/rate to give me a rating, either on Podchaser, Apple Podcasts, or directly on my website. And of course, you can get in touch with me via email. Write to me at info@thegermanyexperience.de. Music in this episode by 10 Cent Janes. Additional music by Ryan Anderson until the end. Auf Wiederhören.